Trying to learn fingerpicking songs all at once? I wasted years that way before discovering a layered approach that's helped thousands of my students master songs much faster. And in this lesson, I'll show you how to play Elizabeth Cotton's Going Down the Road Feeling Bad at 3 skill levels, each sounding great while building techniques that you'll use in the next level, plus dozens of country blues tunes. Let's dig in. This arrangement is in D standard tuning. That's tuning every string down a whole step from E standard. It's super low and it sounds great, but if you'd rather stay in standard tuning, you absolutely can do that. This piece will still sound great. It's just gonna sound a little bit higher than what I'm demonstrating. In all 3 levels, we'll use a chord shape that's based around this familiar open position C chord. Now, since we're in D standard, this is actually sounding a B flat, but we're gonna keep things simple and just refer to this by its familiar chord shape. And while this chord shape does make an appearance a little bit later in the progression, we're actually going to drop the ring finger to the 6th string 3rd fret. So we've got the 3rd fret 6th string in the bass, and the rest is the top of our familiar C shape, right? And occasionally we're going to drop the little finger on the 1st string at the 3rd fret. This is going to be a main feature that we're going to pick around. And we're also going to slide this up for a really cool moment in the progression. So get familiar with this shape and then be able to move it up 2 frets and just go back and forth. Make sure you've got this down because it is heavily used in the progression. And later on, we're going to end up playing an F, which you could play as a bar chord here. You could even play a little partial. And if you're inclined and you can do it, you can hook your thumb over the fretboard to play the F on this 6th string 1st fret. And same as with the C chord, we're referring to this as an F, even though this is really an E flat because we're tuned down. But not to confuse things, we're just going to refer to this as our F shape. But we've got some options here as far as how to play it. Now, the foundation of this song really is alternating bass, and this is the technique that's at the core of country blues and one that I've been teaching my BGI members for over a decade now. So let me show you how it works in Going Down the Road. Let's put this C shape with the 6th string in the bass on the fretboard, and the bass line that will work around this chord shape is going to be a 6th string, 4th string, 6th string, 4th string, just back and forth. If you're new to this, just get the thumb plucking back and forth. Get that movement down. This is called a 6/4 alternating bass line, where we're just going back and forth between those two. And when we put this in time, we'll put it on the beat like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. And if you're practicing along with a metronome, set your metronome to a practice tempo and play when it clicks. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, a little bit later in the progression, and we'll get to this, we actually do visit our C shape and we play a 5/4 alternating bass line followed by 6/4. So that complete pattern is 1, 2, 3, 4. See how we're moving that ring finger down to the 6th string to play beat 3? 1, 2, 3, 4. Alternating bass can be tricky, there's no doubt about it. If you're a member, you can check out one of the mini courses where we train and really build the skill of alternating bass. But once you get the hang of it, then we've got to hang a really cool melody on top of it. And in level 1, we're going to simplify that rolling, busy sound of country blues and keep things simple and keep them right on top of the beat. That's a great first step into this style of fingerpicking. Let's take a look at this opening phrase. Notice that I'm playing out of that C shape and then shifting the bass down to the 6th string, and I'm also dropping my little finger on the 1st string here at the 3rd fret. Now hold that shape, it's going to be important for a lot of this first section. And we're also applying that 6/4, 6/4 alternating bass line. But I'm also adding one little element, and it's on beats 2 and 4. I'm pushing through and softly hitting that 3rd string as well, a little miniature strum across strings 4 and 3 there. just adds a little something to the piece. Now for the melody that we're going to hang on top, it's really simple. We're just going to pinch on beat 1 along with the bass, and the note that we're going to pinch is on the first string, right? Just hold the chords. We don't have to pay attention about the frets so much if we've got a good chord in place. We're not changing anything for this. We're just pinching and then brush down, and then we're going back to the 6th string for our bass, and we're going to play another melody note. This time I'm going to pluck with my middle finger the 2nd string, and that's at the 1st fret because that's where the chord is held down. So all right, that's the first measure. The next measure, things get really cool, and this is a huge feature of this tune. We're going to take this shape and keep everything the same relative to each other, but we're going to shift it up 2 frets. So I'm coming up to the 5th fret, and we're going to do that same pinch and brush. That's the outer 2 strings, 6 and 1, and then brush. Just keeping that alternating thumb going here, really. But just after I do that, we're going back to our shape, our open position shape here. But notice as I moved down, I lifted my little finger because we need that open 1st string in the melody here. And we've got our bass and then pinch. And that pinch is actually the top of the next measure. Let's recap what we've done. The melody keeps going, and what we're going to do is beat 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're using elements that we've really already used before. The chord is changing in the middle of a bar, being slid up 2 frets, right? So it's this same shape with the pinky on the 1st string, just slide up 2 frets to the 5th fret here, all right? And we get this really cool sound. I love this when we play the outer 2 strings, but then when we play our bass on the 4th string and push through, it's a really neat sound, all right? So we've got that happening to start off this 2nd section here. Then we drop back down. So we're moving quite a bit here in a short amount of time. As we drop back down this time, remember last time we lost the little finger on the 1st string. Here we're going to keep it down, and then we're going to pluck, just like before, the outer 2 strings. But beat 2, it comes off again. And then beat 3, we move that little finger to the 3rd fret of the 2nd string for the first time, right? So far we haven't played that note, but we're just going to shift it up a string from the 1st to the 2nd, and that's beat 3, and then we've got a little bass note there. Just right on schedule. So when we put these 2 together, we get right? And we're going to let that ring as we push through our bass note. And all of this is headed into a chord change. And the chord that we're going into is an F chord shape. And I know a lot of players struggle with an F chord, so we're going to make a modification here or there to help you out. We're playing with this F shape, and you might have noticed that I was getting my thumb involved here. It's actually playing the note on the 1st fret of the 6th string. And that might be difficult, and it might not happen for you right away, so I'll show you another way to play this in just a second. But for country blues, this really gives you some options because your little finger is now available to play some other note. So if you can do this, definitely set up this way. It also gives you a really good way to do your alternating bass because we can play that low note and do a 6-4, 6-4 alternation there. And it really just is the major triad here on strings 4, 3, and 2 with that low note with the thumb hook. All right, but say that's not happening. Well, you got a couple of other options. The dreaded F bar chord is one. You can do the exact same thing I just played there by barring with your index finger. And what's really crucial is that you get the bar with the 6th string and the 2nd string, and in most cases the 1st string, but we're actually not playing it there. But it's good practice to make sure that you've got a good bar across all 6 strings. But I know this is a difficult chord as well, maybe as difficult as the thumb hook. So the final option might just suit you. You'll just have to change up your alternating bass and play this version of an F. We don't get that real low note from the 6th string happening here, but we could play a 5-4, 5-4 alternation, still doing that push through on strings 4 and 3, 4 beats 2 and 4. And you can play through the melody using this chord form as well. You'll just modify where beats 1 and 3 are. They've shifted to the 5th string, all right? So let's play it this way, or I'm going to demonstrate it this way. And we're really just pinch, strum, kind of like where we started this, right? But here, it's just pinching on the 2nd string both times. Now, the next measure was playing on the beats, just walking up on the 2nd string. From the 1st fret to the 3rd, to the 4th, back down to the 3rd, and then we land at the chord change here, a chord that we've been to before. This is where we started, right? So the F part, and then we play a line that we've already done before, and then repeat our F shape. For the ending, we really use all the same techniques and moves that we've already covered, just with a few variations in the melody. Let's take a look. And that's the ending phrase that supports the resolution of the melody. And we're actually going to take a look at where we landed this, because that's actually where we're going to start coming out of our F shape part, is this open position C chord shape. But we use an alternating bass line that we haven't seen before. This is a 5-4, 6-4. And to get that 6th string in there, we've got to shift the ring finger down to the 6th string. Same fret, 3rd fret for both. So do this and make sure that you can get that movement down. You want to move the ring finger and nothing else. All right, so to start us off here, after this part, we're going to pinch with that bass. And that's the 2nd string, 1st fret is the melody note. And then it's just our little pattern. And again, except for beat 3, we're going to play the open 1st string. It sets up the part that's coming. So, for this moment, we're going to put down the pinky on the 1st string at the 3rd fret, this familiar shape, the one that we've been using this whole tune, and we're going to use our 6-4, 6-4. But we got a little bit more melody action happening here. 6-4, 6-4. So it was pinching on the 1st string at the 3rd fret, pinch again, and then open for beat 4. Then another 6-4, 6-4 alternating bass, but this time we're going to lift up the middle finger and play with the open 4th string. So we're pinching with that 2nd string, and again, and this time we're coming up with the melody on the 3rd fret of the 2nd string before resolving and doing our pattern. No melody notes here. So again, we've just distilled this tune down to its essential core, but the cool thing is that even at this simplified level, you're building the exact foundation that has helped my students learn how to play acoustic blues. So take your time and work this up to speed, and when you're comfortable, it should sound like this. You can use level 1 as a stepping stone, but it really is more than just practice material. It's a legitimate way to play the song and have fun, and it's a bit more accessible to new fingerpickers. But what do you do when you're ready for more? Let's take this foundation and add one of the most signature techniques in country blues. To me, what gives country blues its distinctive character isn't complexity, it's rhythm. That rolling sound comes from a fundamental rhythmic shift called syncopation. We're going to start with the same melody that we used in level 1, but we're going to change the timing of our picking. We're going to syncopate the melody. And this one change really takes this song to a different place. We're going to bring forward our 6/4 alternating bass pattern from level 1. And keep in mind that the thumb is the timekeeper. 1, 2, 3, 4. And in level 1, we played a lot of the melody notes with the thumb right on top of the beat. So we had that pinching motion happening to play the melody. But here in level 2, we're going to displace the melody. We're going to syncopate it and play in between the beats that are played with the thumb. So for our first phrase, we'll have this. Let's take a closer look at that. We do start off by playing the melody right on top of the beat, beat 1. But then we've got a bass, and here we start to syncopate. We start to get in between the beats. We have our bass now for beat 3, but on the and of 3, we're going to play the second string note, and then back to the bass. We slide up for our shape here at the 5th fret, and we syncopate again. Bass, first string, bass. Go back and do that same thing. Bass, first string, open this time, bass, and then we play on the and of 4 at the second string. Continue with our melody, and we're going to move back up and play another syncopated melody note in this shape from the 5th fret. Back, and again, we kind of have this pattern of bass, first string, bass. Then we're going to open up, bass, first string, open, and then bass, second string. Keep in mind where the melody has gone. Even in level 1, we're bringing that forward. We're just changing the timing here. And then we wrap up with a bass note. So we have this. Headed into the chord change. When we get to our chord change, we're going to keep some of the simplicity that we picked up in level 1. We're not going full country blues on these couple of measures here, but we are going to add a little bit of style. For this move, notice that we've lost the bass. The thumb isn't doing anything here, but I'm still picking with my index finger on the 3rd string and my middle finger on the 2nd string. That's going to set us up for what's coming in level 3, where we do add the bass and some other notes to round out the sound. For now, we're just focusing on getting that hammer on, plucking the 2nd string, and then coming back. The hammer on is from the open 3rd string up to the 2nd fret, right? So think of it as coming from that shape, that F shape, right? That's what we're playing out of. We're just simplifying things and just focusing on the melody of this cool little move here. And then the next measure is the same as level 1 as we head into the next chord change. And as before, we're going to pick up here with our melody, a piece that we've already played before, and then repeat this part as we head into the ending phrase. You can tell the picking is really coming together here. We're starting to fill out the sound, and it's a little bit of a hint at what's to come in level 3. But let's make sure that we've got the phrases coming out of our lick. we drop into this C major chord shape, just like in level 1. But here we do fill out the picking a little bit more, placing a note on the and of 2. But this time not a melody note per se, but the open 3rd string. And we get this really cool country blues picking pattern. This is one to know. We start with pinching, then bass, then 3rd string, and then the bass shifts. We have our 5-4-6-4 here. And of 3 is the 2nd string, and then bass, open 3rd. When you put this together, you get a really cool pattern. And especially when we match it with the next bar, which is a little bit calmer. We have bass, bass, 3rd string, and then bass, but now shifting to the 6th string and syncopating that open 1st string on the and of 3 before wrapping up with bass again. From here, we go into the last phrase of the melody. So some pinching here on the 1st beat, syncopated melody note on the and of 2, 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 3, and then we open up for the 1st string, bass, 2nd string, as we start to land the plane. But we've got one more measure here before we can say that we've landed, and it can be a little bit tricky. We're still in this chord shape here, right? This is where we landed. We've got our bass, but here I want you to take the middle finger and drop it to the 2nd fret of the 3rd string here, right? From the 4th string, just move it back so that we get that open 4th string. Gives us a really cool sound here, right? And then we're going to pinch with the melody. This measure is all about pinching, and we got a little bit of a trick here for beat 4. We're going to put the little finger down on the 3rd fret 2nd string. No big deal, we've done that before, but we're going to bring the ring finger down and play the 4th string. It's just a quick move to get us out of position and play a note that's not expected based on our pattern of playing a 6 or 5-4-6-4 or a 6-4-6-4. None of these patterns had us move to the 4th string, 3rd fret, right? We were able to just hold the chord. So here we're just making a slight change and playing strings 4 and 2 together. From here, we kind of go back to this little picking pattern. Right? The one that's really important that I mentioned in country blues. This syncopated sound is what gives so many country blues tunes that bouncy forward momentum. It's fun to play, and it's worth your practice time to get this feel into your playing. And when you do, speed things up and aim for something like this. All right, now we're getting somewhere. Just by changing the timing of the melody by half a beat, we get that bouncy, rolling sound, but there's still some room to grow. We need something else to round out our sound and get a little bit closer to that Elizabeth Cotten country blues sound. Now, let's take what we've built and add some final touches that really bring this to life. In level 3, we're filling in the spaces and adding some moves that make this sound full and like a complete country blues tune. First, we're going to build on that syncopated framework from level 2, but now we're going to add in what I call filler notes. They're not really bass notes and they're not really part of the melody, but they do a great job of filling out the sound and keeping the music going. Level 2 was all about syncopating the melody while holding our alternating bass pattern the same. We're going to bring that forward into level 3, but we're going to add a little filler note on the and of 2 and the end of 4 throughout the first measure and often throughout the rest of the phrase. So when we get to level 3, we'll round out our sound by just adding that one note to these first measures. It'll sound like this. So in our first measure, it's and of 2 and of 4. When we slide up to our shape at the 5th fret, it's on the and of 2. Everything else is the same. We're just filling in that little gap, and it really helps to move the music forward. For the next measure, or half of this measure, we're going to wrap up back here at home bass, and we do have a melody on the and of 4 here, just as before. And then a little filler note, and of 2, filler note, and of 4. This measure's the same here, but when we put this together and compare it to level 2, which as a reminder sounds like this, we get this for level 3, just adding that filler note in these measures. All right, we've got a lot of techniques going. We've got alternating bass. We've played a really cool lick for this next section. But here we're going to tackle probably the toughest part of this arrangement, which is being able to play the lick from level 2 while holding down the bass. So let's get to it. These are the most difficult 2 bars in the entire arrangement. And it's because we're bringing the alternating bass that we picked up in level 1 together with the lick from level 2. Now, we've got some options, as we've discussed earlier, about how to play this chord shape, and everything is going to be played out of this position. So whether you're playing it with a thumb hooked over the fretboard like this, the bar chord version like this, or even this version without the 6-string bass, we're going to encounter some challenges here for sure. And if you're on this one, please remember that you're going to do a 5/4 alternating bass line. And if you are doing that, I want to encourage you to try at this stage to get a 6/4 bass line going and get that low note on the 1st fret of the 6th string, because that really adds some weight to this piece. I'm going to demonstrate this with my thumb hook technique, playing at the 1st fret with my little triad shape here, 4, 3, and 2. So with the bass going, we're going to start out by pinching the open 3rd string and letting that hammer fall in between the beat. Bass, melody note on the 2nd string, and then bass, filler note, 3rd string, bass, melody back on the 2nd. One more time. Now, for this next measure, things definitely get tricky. It's a simple melody. All we're doing is moving up 1 fret, but it's that 1 fret moving up from the 3rd that makes this very difficult. The way I'm achieving this stretch is by twisting my wrist up. Notice my elbow here. You can see it kind of coming up, and that makes me palm the neck and lets me get a little bit extra from my shape, right? I'm relaxing my index finger. If I try to keep that planted, it's not going to happen. And it doesn't need to do anything. We're not playing that 2nd string at the 1st fret anymore. I'm playing on the 3rd and on the 4th, right? So that's how I'm getting that to happen. You're going to have to take a moment to figure out what works for you. You could play it this way, and maybe that's a little bit easier for you if you use the bar chord of this. It is definitely a valid way of playing this, and it can work, all right? But however you do it, you want to know that you're likely going to use what we would call bad technique to get it. So don't stay there. Get up, get the note, and come back to home bass, which should be a very relaxed feel. If you need to step out for a moment, for a half a beat to catch something that's outside of good technique, what we would consider good technique, I think that's fine. But make sure you're coming back to a relaxed state on the fretboard. You see my elbow jump up, but then it comes right back down into position. The remaining measures are the exact same in level 3 as we played them in level 2. In this level, level 3 really brings everything together that we've worked on. We've got the steady alternating bass, we've got the syncopated melody, and now we're bringing in the filler notes. And we seriously leveled up that difficulty on the F part, I know. But with practice, you can build this up to a performance that sounds like this. For my BGI members, you have access to download the tabs and the interactive tab player to help you learn this at your own pace. If you're not already a member, you can join us at the link below. And I hope to see you inside my BGI. Until then, practice smart and play on.